My guest today is the current director of the Little Rock Zoo, Miss Susan Altrui. Susan has worked for the zoo since 2005, but it wasn't until director Mike Blakely announced his retirement in 2020 that she moved from head of marketing to become the acting director. Later, she cemented the position when the late city manager, Bruce Moore, promoted Susan to the full-time position of Arkansas's Little Rock Zoo director. Little Rock is lucky to have such an accredited zoo. Interestingly, it is the largest family destination in Arkansas, conveniently located in the center of the state and in the heart of the capital city. The zoo not only cares for over 500 animals, it also provides inspiration, education, and conservation programs that they believe grows a passion for animals and a respect for all living things. Fun fact about the zoo: it was founded in 1926 with an abandoned timber wolf and a trained bear. It is my pleasure to welcome to the table the creative Little Rock Zoo director, Miss Susan Altrui. Hey, Susan.
Hey.
So I went to the zoo to research for this show today, and it has changed quite a bit from when my kids were there. Do you happen, and we'll talk about every bit of it. I want to talk about the exhibits and everything, and I want to tell people how to volunteer and how to go and when to go and what's the best times and all of that. But do you know the story of the timber wolf and the trained bear?
I am so glad you brought that up because let me tell you, it's not real.
Are you kidding me?
Look, we have got such a great place to start today because we are about to celebrate our 100th anniversary at the Little Rock Zoo. And we recently found out we were founded in 1924, not 1926. So the fact that you said that just launches off a great starting point for us today. So we were looking into some of our history recently, and there was an individual that used to work at City Hall who is a dear friend of mine. His name is Scott Carter. And if any of you out there know anything about history buffs or you're into history, you've probably come across Scott Carter before. He used to have a blog. You're nodding your head over here. You know Scott.
Oh.
He was a history buff of city history here in Little Rock. He's since moved out of state, where it's a huge loss for Little Rock. But one day, Scott, he sent me an email and he said, Susan, I've been doing some research for the city and I came across some articles about the Little Rock Zoo. And it looks like your birthday might be a little bit earlier than you thought. And it was 8 different articles and they were all from 1924. And it turns out there was a zoo commission that was founded in 1924 by the then mayor. They established the zoo and they started construction on the site where the zoo is right now, which was then Fair Park. They were building exhibits. And guess what the first animal was?
A giraffe.
A snake.
Oh.
So we were founded in 1924 with a snake, which is not nearly as exotic, but that's okay. They then acquired a bear, which is not the circus trained bear. That came a little bit later. But there's an interesting, funny story in 1925. The then zoo director that they had and the public works director had to capture the bear because it got out of its cage and they had to get it, put it back in the cage. I can't imagine having to chase down a bear and get it back in its cage. Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
I mean,
people were tougher back then.
They had to be.
They probably did it with a stick.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I mean, just absolutely crazy. So there was a story about that from 1925. There's all kinds of interesting things. So just really interesting history that we're just now coming across. So here's what we're going to do. We've all this time thought that our founding was 1926, and we have been planning for the centennial for 1926. So we're going to do what Disney did. So Disney celebrated their 50th for 3 years. So we're going to celebrate our 100th for 3 years. So we're going to kick it off at the end of this year, and we're just going to celebrate for 3 years. So you're going to see us kick off our centennial at the end of this year in 2024, and we're just going to celebrate for a couple of years. That's how that's going to work.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great.
Why not?
Gray, our Arkansas Flag and Banner anniversary is 50 years next year. Should we start celebrating now?
Oh, yeah. Just make it
a 3-year celebration.
You might as well. You know, you just never know. And it's interesting. So, and funny enough, we've actually been trying to find some evidence of when the circus-trained bear and the timber wolf were donated, and we can't find any. Which is also, it's like there was this lure of that was passed down, and we can't find evidence of it.
That it was even there?
That was even there. So that's the other funny thing, too.
It is just a good story.
It's just a good story that got passed down.
No dancing
generation
bear.
to generation, and we can't find evidence of it. So that's the other interesting thing, too. So it just goes to show you that what kind of history gets told is what becomes history. And it might not be the history at all.
So what's the zoo's claim to fame? Every zoo has something it's supposed to be. And I've heard before that the Little Rock Zoo is a retirement home.
Yes, we are a retirement home. We've got a lot of old animals, and to me, that's a great thing because it shows the excellent care we give our animals. One thing that we've got 3 old elephants, old ladies that are retired circus elephants, and we love them. They are wonderful, and they definitely are in their elder years. They were former ringling elephants, and one of those girls is about to turn 63, which is old for an elephant. In the wild and in zoos, a lot of times you don't see elephants live past their late 50s. So for an elephant to be 63 is just really a testament to care. Is
it expensive to have old elephants? And does everybody give you a hard time because you always have animals dying? You're like, well, that's because they're old. Or
they sometimes do because they don't understand, and that's something it's great for us to be able to talk about. Is we do see animals pass on, and they're living things, and every living thing will die, and that's sometimes a hard conversation to have. Is that an animal that we have is going to die?
Is it not expensive to take care of old animals?
It is. It's very expensive. So
why wouldn't you buy buy a young, fun, jumping around elephant? Because it's going to be cheaper to maintain than an old elephant that's on medicine.
You can't buy animals like that. So here's an interesting fact. We don't buy any of our animals. And we actually work in cooperation with other zoos that are accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And that is all governed by what we call the Species Survival Plan. So those are experts that are in that particular field of animals. So for Asian elephants, for instance, there's a Species Survival Plan. And so there's a group that are experts in that field, and they look at the genetic history of the animal. They look at the breeding history. They look at the behavioral history of that animal, and they make recommendations for where animals should go and what zoos. So right now, there are about 70 zoos in the different areas of the country. So we've got about 230 of us that are all accredited zoos in the country. 230
zoos?
That are accredited out of about 2,000. So it really is an elite group of zoos and facilities. And of those 230, only about 70 hold Asian elephants. And so of those 70, they'll make a recommendation of what elephants should go where. Now, the ones that we have were donated by Ringling, but that was a very unusual circumstance. But they're now in the SSP, the Species Survival Plan for Asian elephants. And there's some other Ringling elephants that are at other zoos as well.
Didn't the Ringling's circus close?
They did, but they have donated all of their animals to a place called White Oak, which is a conservation center that's in Florida. And they've got great lives now, 6,000 acres to roam on, and they're now part of the Species Survival Plan.
Can you go down there and see them?
You can't. It's a private facility. It's closed off to the public. It's owned by a private individual.
A crazy person.
No, actually, but it's a wonderful facility. Maybe a crazy for animals person.
Crazy eccentric person.
That's right. Crazy eccentric. You'd have to be to own a place like that. But it's a beautiful facility.
That sounds big.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. 6,000 acres for those elephants. But
so how many animals are born at the zoo?
So it depends on the year, but we've had several born at the zoo. So last year we had a baby orangutan born, just an absolute doll.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. I mean, you've never seen anything
Very
cuter
cute.
than a baby orangutan. And that
maybe
baby's
a
doing
lamb.
really good.
Baby lambs are really
They're pretty cute too. But baby animals in general are just cute. We have baby penguins born all the time too. That we had a baby penguin born last year. Just adorable, to see those babies grow up with their family. So we love the baby animals. Those are always an adorable thing to have.
So before we go to our first break, we're going to talk about this at the beginning, and then we're going to talk about it at the end because I'll recap it. But what is the admission?
Our admission is $12.95 for adults, $9.95 for kids. But
And then you
we
can
also have some special admissions now too. We have an EBT admission. If you've got an EBT card, you get in for $2,
What's
and your
EBT?
whole family does.
What's EBT mean?
It's what people used to call food stamps.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, so that's our way for providing additional access.
Oh, that's nice. You started that program, didn't you?
Yeah.
Wasn't that yours?
Yeah, that was
Because you
one
were
of
in
ours.
marketing before then?
Yes, I was the director of marketing and development before I was the director of the zoo.
You're just well-rounded.
Thank you for saying that. I try to be.
Yeah. I mean, marketing is huge. I don't think people realize what a huge really in gray area marketing is and how hard it really is. And the zoo does a lot of marketing.
We do. We have to because we want to get the word out about how great the zoo is and all the programs we offer and education.
And it's expensive. Do you advertise outside the state of Arkansas or just in the state of Arkansas?
We try to focus mainly in Arkansas. We try to get word out outside of Arkansas, what they call the tourism egg, that kind of St. Louis down to the South Arkansas, to Shreveport, Tulsa, outside of the area there, some too.
The same place, the Hot Springs Village.
Yeah, those areas. The LRCVB, the Little Rock Convention Visitors Bureau, they help us with that a lot.
Oh.
They're very helpful in that. So we partner with them on a lot of that.
That's really good.
Yeah.
I know. I want to tell everybody too. There's a lot of shade. It's hot this time of the year.
Yes.
We're doing in the summers. It can be hot. There is a lot of shade. There are some misters there along the way, but I recommend bringing a water bottle because there's a lot of places. And I think it's really interesting that if you go into the restaurant or this food court, the water comes in cans.
Yes, and we do that because we believe in sustainability and sustainable business practices, and those can be recycled easily.
Yes, and my husband and I, have been buying as much as we can when we travel. We try to get everything in cans because of the plastic in our bodies is not good for you. So it's not only an environmental issue, it's a health issue.
Yes.
I was really happy to see that because I didn't bring a water bottle and I wished I had. But I was really happy to see that you had cans of water because not everybody does. And another thing before we go to break is these dedicated benches under in the shade everywhere. So if I wanted to dedicate a bench to somebody, just call the headquarters down there.
That's right. Give us a call if you want to do that. There's a fee for that, but it's really not that expensive. It's a couple of grand, and you can dedicate a bench. And we've had several people do that. We've had several people do that as a memorial. They've collected money from people and made a memorial bench in memory of someone. We've had people do it in honor of someone. It's a great way to memorialize someone or to honor someone.
I thought so too. My imagination was running wild. I thought, should I get a bench for somebody?
Yeah.
All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more and paint an imaginary picture of the Little Rock Zoo with its director, Miss Susan Altrui. Still to come, the animals, the education, the conservation, the best times to visit, what to see, and volunteer opportunities. We'll be right back.
Do you have something to say? Say it in flying colors. I'm Megan McCoy, and my family owns and operates flagandbanner.com. We believe that flags tell a story and banners make an impression. Whether it's for your business, organization, or special event, custom flags and banners will make your message soar. Visit flagandbanner.com for high-quality products and quick turnaround. We're not just any flag company. We're the experts that answer the phone.
Thanks, Gray. We're speaking today with Arkansas's Little Rock Zoo Director, Miss Susan Altrui. So before the break, we talked about the admission. It's very affordable. We talked about the shade and the benches and just a little bit of the dancing bear history story. The zoo is 100 years old this in 24, 25, and 26.
We're celebrating 3 years. That's right.
Let's talk about the exhibit. So when you come in the front door, I just want to tell our listeners, I went out there this past weekend, and it is very clean and nice and just a great family event. And you come and you park across the street. They've even got EV hookups if you've got an electric car. I was impressed with that. And you walk into the beautiful front gate. It's very affordable. And then you can go right to the Simang monkeys. Is that what they're called? Is that how you pronounce it? Or you can go left to the gorillas.
Yes.
Which way do you go when you come in? Which way do you want people to go,
so
right or
left?
left?
There's actually studies on this, that the majority of people, when they come into an amusement park or a zoo or any kind of facility, they go to the right.
So do grocery stores.
That's right.
Go in a
Yeah,
grocery
you
store.
go to the right. Mm-hmm. So I like to go to the left to be unconventional.
Of course you do.
Yeah. And also because I'm a big fan of the lemurs, and our lemurs are to the left. Mm-hmm. So I have to go see my favorite guy, Willie the lemur. He's a blue-eyed black lemur, and he's just adorable. He's an old guy. He's 31 years old, which is old for a lemur, but he's still hanging in there. And he actually just became a father. So
At what age?
At 31.
Man, they never change,
They don't.
do they?
They don't. Let me tell you. Yep.
Golly.
Younger girlfriend, and he's still doing it. Yep.
So have you ever been bitten?
No, I haven't. I've not been bitten by an animal, but some of our staff have. It happens. We try to avoid that as much as possible, and we go through lots of safety routines so that doesn't happen. But most of our staff do not interact with the animals, so they are in protective barriers where they're in between the animals. That's a common misnomer. Some of the folks think that we go in with the tigers and other dangerous animals, and we don't. There are protective barriers, even protective barriers between us and our elephants. But we do have some animals that we do interact with that are part of our animal ambassador program. So we have some birds of prey, we have reptiles and other animals that are non-venomous and are considered less dangerous that we do interact with, that we take to classrooms, et cetera. And I always say this, people will ask, well, does it bite? Any animal can bite. And that's
even
true.
humans.
That's right.
Even my grandson.
That's right. Even your grandson.
He'll bite you. He'll bite you.
He will. Any animal can bite. We can bite. Any animal can bite.
Yeah.
And so it just depends on the mood. It depends on what's happening around them. An animal can get startled at any time. And these are wild animals. And so a smell, a sound, a sight can trigger that wild instinct, and an animal can bite. And so we have to always keep that in mind and be aware and be mindful of those things.
So I'm going in, I'm following your path, I'm going left, and I come to I don't know what the difference is. There's 3 large animals down there. There's the gorilla, the orangutan, and chimpanzee.
Yes.
What are the difference between a gorilla, orangutan, and a chimpanzee? They all look big and black.
Big differences, yeah. So the orangutans are actually orange and a reddish orange in color.
Are they? Do we have orangutans?
We do.
That's the baby that was born.
Yeah.
A year ago.
Oh, yeah. I don't think I saw that.
We are actually one of the
one.
few zoos that has all 3 great apes. A lot of zoos don't have all 3, and we have all 3. So that's a little bit unusual. Some will just have 1, or they'll have 1 or they'll have 2, but we've got all 3. And so that's a little bit unusual to have all 3. So we've got gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans.
All right. Gorillas are vegetarians.
All 3 of them are. They're vegetarians,
All of them are
yes.
vegetarians.
Now,
they're enormous for being vegetarians.
Chimpanzees will occasionally eat meat, but they really are not. They're all herbivores. Their main diet is fruits and vegetables.
You know, you talked about the baby orangutan.
Yes.
And so tell us about their family a little bit.
They're adorable. You've got mom and dad, and there's actually a big sister too. So she is just a little bit older than a toddler. And so when baby brother came, there was a little bit of a jealousy issue.
Oh, really?
But she's adjusted. She's doing better. And so you've got the whole family there.
Did they let you hold the little baby orangutan?
Oh, no, we don't interact with them.
Not at all. Not even when they're babies. You won't even let. You just have to look love from afar.
That's right, because mama would not like that. And we also want them to bond. We really want mom to raise the babies. That's what's best for the babies. The only time we would ever intervene is if there was something wrong. If mom had abandoned the baby for some reason and just didn't want to take care of it, or if there was a medical issue, sometimes that happens and we have to intervene. Otherwise, we would never want to intervene in that process. We always want mom to take care of the babies.
So the chimpanzee, my son, who worked at the zoo, I was just telling Susan before we came on the radio that all of my children volunteered at the zoo when they were in high school.
I love that.
The chimpanzees, my son gave me the tour, and he said they share 99% DNA with us. Is that true?
Yeah, they're one of our closest relatives. Yes. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And then,
but there are some important differences. Like one of the biggest differences is language. So we have the ability to speak a language to one another, and chimpanzees don't have as evolved of language skills.
But they do. That's the one that hoots and hollers, though, isn't it?
Right. But
that's a language.
It is, but it's not as sophisticated a language. So, for instance, if you were to describe a vacuum cleaner, what's a vacuum cleaner to a chimpanzee? They're not going to understand it. So, it's examples like that. It's just, we have a much more evolved language system. So
are they the jungle VIP, or is the lion the jungle VIP?
Oh, hard to say. Hard to say. I always get this question, like, in a fight, which one would win? It's like, I don't know.
I thought it was so clever to come up with that question.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, because one's faster, but one's got stronger jaws. It's hard to say.
So I read where we have our chimpanzees for one reason, because our accredited zoo is part of SAFE, Saving Animals from Extinction.
Yes.
Is that how we ended up getting our chimpanzees?
Well, it's one of the reasons we have them. So we have a lot of animals because we participate in that program, and that's part of why we're with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, because they participate in the SAFE program. It's a combination of the Species Survival Plan, which I mentioned before, which is our breeding program, but it's also an education program. So we're also combining our combined strength to educate the public about the importance of saving these animals. One of the things that we have to really keep in mind is that if we don't do something to act now about saving this planet that we're on and the wild places where these animals live, we may not have these animals in the future. And that's a real shame.
What would happen if we didn't have these animals?
Well, it's going to eventually affect us. We're
Because they're like the canary in the coal mine.
Well, that's right. I mean, we're talking about the fact that if we start, we right now are losing species at a rate that is 10,000 times faster than any mass extinction event we've had before in our time. And so that's really alarming, because if this continues, then this eventually means this is going to, and it already is, it's affecting our aquaculture, it's affecting our agriculture. And we're going to eventually see this to where we're going to have less food for our planet. We're going to have less environmental places that are going to start destroying themselves. And we're already seeing that with climate change and other things that are happening. And this is affecting human life. And so there is inherent value just in saving animals alone, but there also is value in doing it because of the effect that it has on us as human beings too.
Yeah, as research even. So it was interesting to. One of the educational things you talk about to save the animals is buy paper products that are certified by the FSC, which I didn't realize that, which meant that they logged the trees in a way that was environmentally just non-disruptive to the gorillas and the monkeys. So you want to buy your paper products with FSC, and and I didn't realize that recycling electronics saved animals.
That's a big one. And we have a program called Gorillas on the Line where you can recycle any of those electronics. You can drop them off at the zoo. We've got a collection box.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yes, because the batteries that are manufactured, they use a product that's found in the areas where gorillas live. And so it means there's less deforestation if we can recycle those materials.
Isn't it lithium?
It is, yes.
That's good to know. Everybody's always looking for a place to recycle because our city doesn't recycle it.
They don't recycle the lithium. They do recycle electronics, but yes, you can drop that off.
If you put electronics into the recycle bin, they'll take them?
The green station that was just opened
with
the city has that now.
Well, that's good to know also. So then there's the penguins.
Yes.
And they're from Africa, but you've got to keep them cold. So I'm confused.
Well, not exactly cold. So they are a warm weathered species. And we get that question all the time of how can they survive here in Arkansas? And that's because they live on the coast of South Africa. So African penguins are different from other birds that you think of when you think of penguins. So there are actually about 17 species of penguins, and only 5 of those species live where it's cold and snowing. The rest of them are in tropical climates. And the South African penguin is one of those. Now,
but you do keep it cold for them.
Well, we keep it colder. So their pool is chilled to about 66 degrees. So colder than the water. That's what the water temperature is off the coast of South Africa. So they do okay in this kind of heat. So we keep a mister on them. We make it like the beaches of South Africa. So,
they're in trouble of being extinct, aren't they?
That's right. They're also at risk of extinction. That's right.
And they're like our tuxedo, our dressy animal. They're the only ones that dresses up every day.
Right.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The red river hog it kind of looks like Lion King, that puma dog. What's that?
The warthog.
The warthogs,
yeah. Those are there there's warthogs at the Little Rock Zoo as well, right?
Yeah, we've got warthogs,
Well, I saw the red river hog, and
they have the ears, right? Those fluffy tufts. They're adorable.
They're cute.
Okay, the Milan tigers.
Yeah, and the Malayan tigers.
The Malayan tigers and lions. Tell us about those guys. They were up when I was at the zoo.
Our Malayan tigers, we actually had tiger cubs about 2 years ago.
What? You keep having these babies.
I know.
For old folks home, you keep having babies.
It's a good mixture of young and old. And our Malayan tigers are fascinating. So the Malayan tigers are extremely endangered.
Really?
And yes. And what's interesting about them is, and this is an interesting fact, is that they are estimating right now, and this is what's wild to me. There are more tigers that live in people's homes in the state of Texas than are living in the wild right now.
Mm-hmm.
How about that for a fact?
Texas?
That's right.
I thought you were going to say Saudi Arabia.
Texas. Yes.
You know how everybody over there has exotic animals.
Yeah. No, there's more in the state of Texas living in people's private homes.
we all
if
saw
that
Tiger
doesn't
King.
scare you. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And
Then there are in the wild.
That's right. And there are in the wild right now. And now,
So how many is that?
probably 500 or more. Yeah.
You mean there's
Malayan
less than
tigers, right?
500 Malayan tigers,
Yes,
and you've
that's
got
right.
one in the Little Rock Zoo?
That's right.
How'd you get them?
So it's the species survival plan that I mentioned before through
the
it's a
monkey
breeding
one.
program. So there are about 50 in AZA accredited zoos right now. So when we had our 3 that were born at our zoo, that was a big deal to add those
bet.
3 girls. Yeah, that was a big deal. Yeah.
So what about the lions? Are they old or new? Do they have a family?
So they live in a pride. So we have 1 male, 2 females, and yeah, the girls kind of tell him what to do, so they kind of beat him up every once in a while.
That's
You know,
hilarious.
it's interesting because we are so accustomed to the Lion King and the King of
Yes.
the Jungle, and that it's this strong male and he just tells everybody what to do, and really in the real world, it's not like that. It's you have the females and they do the hunting and
Really?
yeah, and they kind of do their thing and they run in their pack, and the male kind of comes in and they might breed with him for a little while, and then he kind of moves on and he might go breed with some other female or something. But, you know, really it's not really where there's a male and he's in charge of a whole bunch of females.
Of the pride,
It's just not like that, really. It's there's a lot of evidence now that it's kind of the females that are running the show and they're doing their thing. And yeah, it's interesting.
And they keep him around for his one special job.
His one special job,
Yeah.
which he's happy to perform.
Sure.
We don't have giraffes anymore.
No, we don't have giraffes anymore.
Are we ever going to get them back?
We'd love to get them back. It's going to be expensive to get them back because we've got to build the exhibit in the right way. You know, giraffes live in harems. It's 1 male, several females.
Oh.
So we need to get a male and a couple of females to get them back. So yeah, that's
otherwise
gonna
they'd
be
be
a big
unhappy.
exhibit.
And they
Yeah.
eat the trees. How do you keep food for them? Because they
You
eat.
just cut the tree high so that they can't reach the trees. So yeah.
In terms of getting animals through the the species survival plan, so
Yeah.
is that like an application process that you put in and they wait until drafts become available?
That's exactly right.
okay.
Yeah, we notify them and we say, hey, we're 2 years out from an exhibit being built. And so then they'll look and see, oh, well, this zoo is having babies. And so this one will be available. Or they'll say, oh, well, this zoo has got 3 males and they can spare a male. And this zoo's got 5 females, they can spare a female. And so they'll mix and match it and make it work.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's also, because it's a breeding plan, they're making sure that the right partner goes with the right
That's
partner
exactly
and
right.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, they look to make sure that the genes work and everything. Yep.
It's a big dance,
Oh.
isn't it?
It
Yes,
is.
It's not just about buying some new giraffes.
That's right. That's right. We call it Tinder for animals. It's
Oh my
like
God,
a dating
that's
app for animals. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's a good place to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more with Arkansas Little Rock Zoo Director, Miss Susan Altrui. Still to come, Asian elephants we've talked a little bit about, but the really interesting one is the soon-to-arrive giant Komodo dragon lizard. And what is the difference between a llama and an alpaca? We'll be right back.
Flag season is here, and Arkansas's flagandbanner.com has everything you need to freshen up your home with a little red, white, and blue. Bunting is a great way to dress up the front of any house, porch, or fence line. Easily spruce up your yard with stick flags and garden banners, and our wide selection of decorative door hangers will make all your guests feel right at home. You can shop online or come see us in our historic showroom in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas's flagandbanner.com. We're the experts.
We're speaking today with Arkansas's Little Rock Zoo Director, Miss Susan Altrui. Before the break, we talked about the elephants a little bit. They're a family of old girls. Then we talked about the new orangutan that was born at the zoo. Then we talked about the chimpanzee family that's cute. But now we're going to talk about the livestock barn, heifer ranch, turtle talk, the Diamond Express, and the Komodo dragon. So the Asian elephants, we go by, they're throwing dust all over themselves.
Yeah. Natural sunscreen.
Are they mad at each other? Is that why you have to separate them from each other?
Such a good question. So elephants have complex social groupings. And they will remember each other for years. And our girls were all once in the circus together. And we have some interesting social bonds there. So Zina does not like elephants typically. She doesn't like other elephants. And so when we got her, we were told she's very aggressive. You got to be careful with other elephants with her. But she does like Babe, who is our other elephant. And Babe is one of these elephants that she just likes everybody. She just gets along well with everyone. But Zina does not like Sophie. We don't know what the history is there, but they knew each other from the past and apparently had gotten in a fight years ago. So we can't put Sophie and Zina together, but we can put Zina and Babe together.
Is Babe young?
Babe is younger. Yes, she's about 43. Zina is 63. So we can put Babe and we can put Zina together, but we can't put Sophie in with them. So we just trade off. So everybody gets some time with Babe. And then, so we'll just trade off who gets to have their time with Babe. But it's an interesting dynamic because of that. So sometimes Sophie will get time with Babe, and then sometimes Zina will get time with Babe. And then Babe just kind of like, do, I'll just go wherever I'm needed.
You can't ride any of these elephants.
No, we don't.
So when you come to the zoo and
them.
they let you ride an elephant, sometimes you'll go to the zoo. I have pictures of the kids riding elephants at the zoo.
Yeah, that was a thing of the past.
They don't do that at all anymore?
No.
There's so many things we don't do that's fun.
Yeah, no, we don't do that anymore. I know.
Okay, Mom.
Dangerous but fun. Yeah.
Is that dangerous?
It is dangerous. Yeah.
Riding an elephant's dangerous?
It is,
There's a lot of stuff that we used to do that's dangerous.
There have
All
been
the fun
people
stuff's
killed
dangerous.
doing it.
That's
yeah,
exactly right.
People have been killed doing it, and there have been staff that have been killed by elephants that they were encountered with. Yeah.
Well, I always wondered about that guy at the circus that would let the elephant put his foot right on top of his chest and lay on the ground.
Stuff, yeah.
And I think, I can't watch that. That's scary looking.
Yep, scary.
So what is the difference between a llama and an alpaca?
So they're different species, and a llama is about twice the size of an alpaca. So they definitely look different in size. That's the biggest difference.
That's really because they're right there together at the zoo, and you're looking at them. And
we actually don't have llamas. We've got alpacas. So
I thought so. That little one was not another species.
So it was just what you were seeing was probably our miniature. We have a miniature pony that's in there with them right now.
I did see that baby pony.
That's a funny story. So she was in the farm. Her name is Lily. But she was a troublemaker. She was beating up on the other horses that were there. I mean, she's like a little bitty thing.
She's tiny.
She's a little bitty. But she was beating up on the other horses that were twice her size. And so we had to take her out of there and put her with the alpacas because the alpacas would put her in her place. And they were like, wow, like, you've got attitude for such a little horse, you know?
It's always the littlest ones, isn't it?
Always.
It's that Chihuahua complex, Napoleon complex.
Oh,
yeah.
So now she's fine. She's settled down and she's good.
Yeah.
But we had to put her somewhere else.
So you have a livestock barn. Smelled just like
Livestock.
Going to
like
livestock.
And it's kind of like being in a barn,
Yeah.
you know. And so that was fun, and it's kind of a petting zoo. You can kind of go through there. It's right by the Diamond Express train.
Yes.
So when you walk through the zoo, if you haven't ever been there before, you get kind of the back, and there's a train, and you can spend a couple of dollars and get on the train and get off your feet and get a little breeze blowing and go around. It's not very long, but it's a kind of almost. I feel like that's kind of the kiddie section.
Yeah.
There's chickens.
Yep.
And there's goats you can feed.
Yeah.
And there's these footprints in the concrete.
Yeah.
What is that to show people what kind of animals are around? Because they're all different kinds of animal footprints.
Yeah. It's just to show people where to go and kind of what's in that area.
That's clever. Yeah. And then there's a heifer ranch.
So that was a partnership that we did with heifer when we built that area. We got some animals from heifer. Some of the heritage breeds came from heifer. And then we're showing people a little bit about heifer with some of the graphics we've got there too.
Well, it's time to talk about the Komodo dragon. Yeah. It is cool. You've got an electronic dragon there to get everybody excited that wags its tail and blinks its eyes or something. I don't know, but the kids like it. So tell us about the Komodo dragon.
We're super excited. This is a new animal for us, and we're going to be breaking ground on this soon. And we're going to have a new habitat in the reptile and primate building and a new Komodo dragon exhibit.
Isn't there some kind of long folklore about a Komodo dragon? They used to get 20 feet long.
No, I'm sure there is.
Some Chinese folklore about Komodo dragons being...
Well, they are from the island of Komodo in Japan. So there's no telling what kind of lure there is about Komodos. I'm sure there is some.
Are they venomous?
They are. Yeah, they are.
Is ours going to get 9 feet long?
They'll get pretty big. Yeah, they do get pretty big.
Is he going to come by himself?
We're going to have 2. So we'll have one and then we'll eventually get another. And we're hoping we get a breeding pair.
Don't you have some sort of campaign going to sponsor him or to get him here? I remember when the chimpanzee was born.
We don't have a campaign right now for that.
Oh, I remember when the chimpanzee was born that you had not a bridal registry, but a baby registry.
Yeah,
so
we
that
did.
you could register for the baby and give baby
cute.
We do
presents.
that with baby animals sometimes. It's super cute. Yeah.
That's your idea in marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do that to get what we call animal enrichment items. And it's a cute way to get some stuff for them.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
The
brilliant.
toys
I
for
love
the
that.
elephant look like you went to the hardware store.
Oh, yeah. They're huge.
They're huge.
Yeah. Yeah. Durable, huge. Yeah. We have these things we call boomer balls, and we use those for the big cats and for the elephants. And there's a company that makes them. It's a real hard, durable plastic. Yeah. Really hard. Yeah.
When you dream about your zoo, and I know you
Yeah.
shut your eyes at night, and
Oh,
I know
yeah.
you think about it nonstop. I can't imagine there's so many moving parts to a zoo.
Yes.
What do you visualize and dream about that you want the zoo to be? What's your goal?
Well, I'm glad you asked that because we've put a lot of those dreams on paper, and you can see that dream at littlerockzoo.com.
Oh.
If you go and look at our master plan, that's exactly what that is. We have looked at the future and talked with a lot of our stakeholders and stakeholder groups to develop that future. And a facility master plan does just that. It is the dream for the future. And it's within reach, and it's something that we really need to do. We need to invest in our zoo. You know, our zoo, we have a great zoo right now, but our zoo can be so much more. You know, we just recently invested in a wonderful new art center. We put $150 million into that art center, and look at what we've got,
Yeah.
a world-class museum.
Yeah.
And it's time we did the same for our zoo. We need to make that kind of investment in our zoo. And what's great about doing that is when you invest in our zoo, you get tourism, you get families coming, you get that investment in conservation learning, so many wonderful things. You know, we've done some studies and shown that the economic impact is huge when you invest in a zoo, especially a zoo like ours. You get the return on the investment of about 10 to 1.
Really?
Every dollar you invest in the zoo comes back tenfold, because when you get those tourists coming in, they're doing things like shopping at the local area shops and eating in restaurants and staying in hotels, because families will travel to come to zoos. And we see that a lot. We see people traveling to go to the Memphis Zoo and traveling to go to the St. Louis Zoo and traveling to go to the Tulsa Zoo. But we need them coming to travel to come to the Little Rock Zoo. And we don't have that happening right now. And we need that to happen. And it's possible. So if you take a look at that master plan, we've got things in there like a really great new addition of a mixed species habitat for giraffe and rhino where you can feed the giraffes. I mean, how cool would that be
Yeah.
to have a deck where you can feed the giraffes?
Yeah,
That would be so
really
exciting
high. Oh,
to
that'd
have
be
some
so
great
good.
things like that and bring giraffes back to the zoo and have a new exciting habitat for our sloth bears. You know, we've always been great with sloth bears. We're known for being a facility for breeding sloth bears, but our bear exhibit is just not great. We need to level that thing out and build a new exhibit for those sloth bears and do something that's better for their care and conservation, and also something that's good for the guests so they can see the sloth bears up close and personal and see how great they are and learn something about their care and conservation.
You know, I like where the restaurant is now. I think it used to be the tiger cage.
It
and
was.
It was sad that
Yes,
those poor
that's
tigers
right.
paced in a circle
Oh, it
in
was
a
horrible.
12 by 12
Yeah.
square. And now they've got this beautiful exhibit that they get to run around in
Yeah.
and jump around. So I see what you mean.
Yeah.
We definitely need to do something really nice for the
Yeah.
giraffe if we're going to have giraffes.
You know, it's interesting because here in Arkansas, there's a lot of kids that will never be able to afford to go on an African safari.
Well, sure.
You know, a lot of kids in this country will never be able to afford that. And so zoos are the place where you're going to be able to see animals up close and personal.
And it's outdoors.
That's right.
I mean, we don't get enough outdoor activities these days.
We are stuck in our electronic devices, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. And the young kids just go nuts over the zoo. You take your young
that's
kids
right. We
there.
see it every day.
Yeah. Who's the most playful? Which of the animals is the most playful?
Probably our penguins.
Really? I
Oh,
thought you'd have
yeah.
said monkeys.
Well, they can be. I think the penguins are so playful because they jump in the water, and if you come up to the glass, they'll follow you on the glass, and the kids love that. They love to see that.
Well, and you kind of have to go into this little cave and look through underwater
Yeah.
through the glass. It's like being in a big aquarium. And so it's cool also. You get out of the weather.
Yeah.
You get a minute out of the sun when you go in there.
That's right.
It's really is special to have a zoo in our town.
It is. It's so special.
So do we build your new facility that you're talking about, your big dream? Is that going to be done with taxpayers? Do we have to do a tax?
It can be both. It's public and private. So
both.
there's some ways to do it. Mayor Scott has a tax proposal right now that's going to be voted on in November. So Little Rock voters will have a chance to look at that.
Is the zoo included in that?
The zoo is included in that, yes.
That's good to know.
It's great. Yep. Great opportunity for Little Rock.
I think the pygmies are really cute too.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
Yeah, they're in the dark and you have to get in
Slow
there and
horses.
look.
Yes, those are the
They're
most adorable little things.
They really, really
Yeah.
are. All right, this is our last break. We're going to go to a quick break and let you know that we've been speaking with Arkansas's Little Rock Zoo Director, Miss Susan Altrui. We'll be right back to wrap up and give you tips on the best times to visit the zoo, the holiday events for the family. And Susan will you need to be thinking about what you want the listeners to take away from this show today. What do you want the big takeaway to be? We'll be back in a minute.
Our grandfather served his country during World War II. We use grave markers and stick flags to honor his memory. To those who serve, thank you from all of us at flagandbanner.com.
We're speaking today with Arkansas's Little Rock Zoo Director, Miss Susan Altrui. Before the show, we talked about all the exhibits and the animals, and it really does whet your appetite and paint a picture of what you want to do. When you go there, you need to get out on a pretty day. What time's the zoo open in the morning?
9 a.m.,
What time's it close?
4 o'clock.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
you can't go after work. You need to go, and then on the weekends, exactly the same.
Same time.
But you have holidays.
We do.
And
We
on the
do.
holidays, you stay open evenings.
We do.
So holiday event, Halloween, what are you got Halloween, Christmas?
So we do have some adults only events that are a lot of fun, and
Oh,
those
really?
are in the evening. So one that we've got coming up. Well, actually, we've got two things coming up, and we really need to talk about this, which is our carousel is turning 100, and we are doing a celebration for the carousel on September the 10th. And that's going to be a blast. We're going to do an after-hours event sponsored by Centennial Bank, and that's going to be a wonderful way to come see the zoo after hours and celebrate the carousel's 100th anniversary.
And it's an adult event, or can you bring the kids?
That's going to be a family-friendly event. And then one of our adults-only events is Zoo Brew, which is 2 days later on September the 12th. That's our Zoo Brew and Cocktails 2 event, which is a beer and cocktail event with food trucks and live music. And that's a fun way to come see the zoo.
How many people come to these things usually?
So we have about 1,000 people that come to Zoo Brew. And it's all over the zoo. So it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't been to the zoo in a while, great way to come see the zoo.
What times it start?
It's at 6 o'clock.
And you get to come and have cocktails and walk around the zoo?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in on
I was about
that.
to say,
Yeah,
that sounds
come.
great.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's the activity in the zoo like when you're there in the evening, walking around with your brew?
So
Are
we've
there
got
animals out.
Animals
and-
are out.
yeah.
And we have animals out for about the first hour and a half. And we also have some of our animal ambassadors that are out too. So
Cool.
some of those up close and personal experiences with the animals. And we also have stations set up where you can do some of those tastings with seltzers, cocktails, beer. You get a commemorative glass. And then we've got food trucks and then live music on some of our stages. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah.
You can rent those. You can rent some of your facilities for your own party, can't you?
You can rent the whole zoo if you want to do an after hours event.
No way.
Yes, we
The
have people do
whole
it
zoo.
all the time.
That's got to be expensive.
It's not terrible. It's not terrible. Yeah.
You going to tell me what it
It's
is?
a couple of
or-
grand.
Couple of grand.
Couple of grand to rent the zoo after hours. Yeah.
Really? That is not terrible.
No, it's not. And then we can get catering there for you for your group. We've had several thousands corporations that have had their whole group there for after hours parties and had the whole zoo open. Yeah. Animals out and everything.
How creative would that be?
Yeah.
You know, if you're just tuning in, Susan was in marketing before she became the director of the zoo, and it's feel like I can really tell.
Well, I appreciate that.
I mean, these are some pretty family fun events. And if you go to your website, they're really graphic and interesting. And you know, you learn about, you got these great pictures of the animals that have so much expression on their face.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, we've got a great team too right now. I've got some wonderful people that are working with me now that help with that too.
What's the best day and the best time to go to the zoo?
It really depends. The mornings are always a good time because the animals are coming out at that time. Usually like 10 a.m. is a good time to come to the zoo. And it's also a little cooler around those times. But really, it just depends. In terms of a good day to come to the zoo, we are not as crowded on Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you're looking for like the ideal day to come and you don't want to be there with crowds. But, sometimes it's fun to come on a Saturday because we have more programs going on. So our education staff will be out and about on Saturdays, usually doing a lot of programs. It might be a little bit more crowded on a Saturday, but then you can take advantage of some of those things. So it really just kind of depends on what you want to do.
Do they have the lady training with the falcon on their arm?
Yeah.
That's what I used to do when I was a docent there.
You did the falcon?
I learned how to tie falconer's knot and did the whole thing. Yeah.
Do you still have volunteers for kids? Do kids still get to volunteer at the zoo all the time?
We do have some of those opportunities. We actually have a really robust teen program right now, and teens can volunteer.
So Matthew worked in the turtle, not you, Gray, but your younger brother. He worked in the turtle section. And
I thought he worked with the monkeys.
Well, I think you graduated. I think you did it for a couple of years.
Graduated to turtles.
But, no. I think you started at the turtles because it's horrible. You have to clean out the turtle river. And when he would get in the car, I had to bring a towel for him to sit on and roll all the windows down.
Yeah.
And he loved it.
Oh, he sure did. I remember.
So great.
It's so gross.
Great.
I thought you were going to say that's so gross.
I think it's great.
It's
being
gross
such a
can
good
be
thing
great.
to learn.
It is, though.
For boys.
Yeah.
When he left, they gave him a poop sculpture.
That's right.
They gave him a sculpture made out of poop.
I
think he kept it for a long time. So Halloween, Boo at the Zoo's always been a big one.
We don't do Boo at the Zoo anymore.
What?
Yeah.
Got too big, probably.
Part of the problem is that the cost of the event just got to be too much. We were paying so much money for all the candy. But really, the biggest reason we stopped doing Boo at the Zoo is we started doing Glow Wild. And it's such a better event for us. And the setup for Glow Wild happens the same time we would have had to do Boo at the Zoo. So we just couldn't do both events. And Glow Wild is such a better event for us.
So cool, too.
Oh, it's an amazing
Well, tell our
event.
listeners what Glow Wild is.
Glow Wild is an event where we've got animal lanterns set up all over the zoo. They literally glow in the dark. We have interactive features with it too. And it's a holiday event that starts in November, goes through December and part of January. And it's beautiful.
What do you mean?
Wonderful.
You mean it's every night?
It's almost every night. We have 45 nights.
So it's not one night.
That's right. Yeah. 45 nights you can take advantage of it.
Goes kind of from all the way through November to the first couple of weeks.
Yep. November, December, and part of January.
Oh, wow.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it's after hours, and you can even buy alcoholic beverages during it if you want to sip an alcoholic beverage while you're there.
But you cannot bring it in.
You can't bring your own. No.
Okay.
No, it can't BYOB.
It's not
we sell
BYOB.
It.
You sell it.
We sell it, yeah. And we sell concessions and have items in the gift shop that glow. It's a really fun event.
Well, I think the gift shop is one of the best places for people to go buy Christmas presents.
Oh, yeah.
They have very unique gifts for kids. And what kid doesn't love to look at another face? And looking at those animals are so cute. I know that you kids all had lemurs. And you love the stuffed animal lemurs. I think they're the cutest little stuffed animal. Plus, there's just a lot of unique gifts in the gift shop. So what do you want our listeners to take away from this interview that we're having that gets them excited about the zoo?
The thing that I always tell people anytime that I do one of these or if I do a presentation is just come and visit the zoo. Come out and see our Little Rock Zoo. If every single person in Arkansas came to the zoo, that would be 3 million visitors coming to the zoo. That would be such support for the zoo. And then all of those people would see what our Little Rock Zoo was about. So many people have come to the zoo years ago and they have an old impression of what the zoo is. Kind of like what you were saying. You hadn't been to the zoo in years.
Right.
And it's changed so much. We've made so many improvements and it's such a better place than it was years ago. Come to the zoo. It's a great thing to do with your family. It's a great place for recreation, and it's a great place for conservation learning. And then second, if you come to the zoo regularly, become a member. It's a great place to support the zoo, a great way to support the zoo. If you have a family, it's a great value.
It is a great value for a family.
You can get your money back after 2 visits, and it's a great way to provide financial support for the zoo because that money comes right back to the zoo whenever you become a member.
How many people go through the zoo a year?
So we have about 300,000 that come to the zoo every every year. We're actually one of the largest attractions in Central Arkansas.
I bet.
Yeah.
If I want to learn more about the zoo, which social media platforms do you post the most to? Instagram,
Facebook, and Instagram. And then we always tell people check us out at littlerockzoo.com too. There's lots of information there.
You're changing your website all the time?
All the time.
How big's your marketing staff now?
We've got 2 people that help us out. And then we also work with Vines and Brookshire. They're one of our agencies too.
So do we.
There you go.
Let's tell everybody again what the admission is.
$12.95 for adults, $9.95 for kids. And we also do $2 off for seniors and military and veterans. And we do the discount for EBT.
I love it. Thank you so much. I want everybody to know that we've been talking to Arkansas's Little Rock Zoo Director, Miss Susan Altrui. She's been a wealth of information. If you're just tuning in, you might want to go back and listen to the beginning of the show because there's some fun stuff about the monkeys and the elephants, the old girls, and the new babies at the zoo. Thank you for spending time with us, Susan. Here is your gift. You have a U.S. and an Arkansas desk set to go on your country. Are you from Arkansas?
I am.
All right.
Arkansas native.
All right. There you go. We want to tell our guests thank you for spending time with us, that this show was recorded in the historic Taborian Hall in downtown Little Rock, Arkansas, and made possible by the good works of flagandbanner.com, Mr. Tom Wood, our audio engineer, Mr. Jonathan Hankins, our videographer, daughter, Miss Megan Pittman, production manager, and my co-host, Mr. Gray McCoy IV, son Gray. We'd like to thank you for spending this time with us. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that it, whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. For more of Kerry's interviews, click on either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.